Hello, friends. This is Professor Googlaw. Today's video will be a little unusual, but I'm sure you will like it. So, get comfortable and let's go. We will start with a rather strange ritual peculiar to the inhabitants of Madagascar. It is called Famadihana and is performed in honor of family ties. It happens once every 7 years. During it, families bring out the remains of their ancestors, which are wrapped in cloth. Following, people take to dancing with them in an armful. Also, by the way, this ritual is called spinning the bones. Now you understand why. In fact, to us the ritual looks wild and wrong. Madagascans find the event not only fun, accompanied by beautiful, lively music, but also instructive, because the elders of the family gather the children in a circle and share with them the importance of honoring the departed. Famadihana is considered a day to show how much you love your family. It is common for all families to get together, including the most distant relatives, and celebrate their kinship. Such a ritual came into existence for a reason. According to their local belief, people came from the organs of their ancestors, and that is why they should be honored, even when they are already lying under the ground. They don't even mind that the skeleton has long since decomposed. They still believe that the spirit of their ancestor hovers nearby and that they need to communicate with him. Now I'm going to tell you about a custom that created a definition that people still use today. You know what the word virgins means, don't you? Of course you do, except that hardly anyone knows where such definitions originated. It turns out it all originated in Montenegro, Albania and Kosovo. In these areas lived families who made an unusual decision. If they had no heir sons, they would take the youngest daughter and assign her to that role. From that very moment, the girl had to reincarnate as a man and never return to her former appearance. She didn't just pretend to be a boy. She was changed her name, accustomed to someone else's gender role, dressed in appropriate clothing, and when she grew up pulled breasts. Also, girls who became, as they were called, virgins, were forbidden to speak of themselves in the feminine gender. It was this and many other restrictions seriously affected their perception of the world, from which they really began to take themselves for guys. They drank alcohol, swore, fought, went to war, and also, surprisingly, had the right to vote, whereas girls were not allowed to vote back then. In addition to all this, no matter how the breasts were artificially tightened, no one could sew or sew up their sexual organ. Hence their tradition to take a vow of celibacy, whence the definition of virgin. By the way, there are theories that similar customs exist in our time, right in Albania. According to some reports, the number of local virgins is about 150 people. But, as you understand, the rites affect not only girls. For example, there is a special custom that makes a boy a real man. It is practiced in many Brazilian tribes and is called simply and clearly ant gloves. The essence of the ritual is the following: the locals, led by a shaman, go in search of the strongest and scariest ants, which they quickly put to sleep and put in a glove. As soon as the insects awaken from their sleep, the boy sticks his hand into them and now he must keep it there for a few minutes. Just a few minutes, you'll think to yourself. But in reality, it's not so easy. At least because every bite is the introduction of poison into the body of a teenager, causing not only terrible pain, but also paralysis of muscles. It takes shamans about a whole day to remove all the nasties from the body. The locals are convinced that power lies inside a person, not outside, so showing off one's suffering is irrelevant. And here is another curious ritual, which relates to hands, or, to be more precise, to human fingers. To study this custom, let's go to New Guinea, to visit the Dani tribe. By the way, this is the most numerous tribe on the island. There are over 200,000 of them. But despite the large number of people, each local honors his neighbor and is especially upset by the loss. They show it simply and at the same time spectacularly. They cut off a phalanx of a finger. In this way, New Guineans symbolize irreparable loss. The origins of this tradition say that after the actual departure of a person to another world, his soul continues to exist. And if you sacrifice his upper phalanx, the spirit of the departed will remain among the tribe and will help them. The pain one feels is a demonstration of sincere grief. Kind of sounds fair and just, doesn't it? Except there's one thing we don't take into account. Only women get their fingers chopped off. Most likely it is done to leave the strong prey unharmed, Otherwise they will not be able to do important things. Women, on the other hand, are the opposite. That's why, among the locals, the oldest girls can have almost all their fingers chopped off. What is done with the removed limbs? It's simple. They are dried for a few days, burned and buried in a designated place. Yeah, not everyone would want to do something like that to their fingers. And they'd be right. But what ritual you probably wouldn't mind doing is filing your teeth. In Balinese culture it is customary to file teeth in such a way that they go in an even line, so that there were no fangs. Their presence means aggressive nature of a person, his attitude to the animal. And, in order to completely exclude this, the teeth are filed. I'll tell you right away, the procedure costs a lot of money. And at the same time, it is carried out in adolescence. In girls when menstruation begins, and in guys when the voice changes. Simply put, during adulthood. However, if for some reason the family does not have time to perform the custom, they postpone it to the time of marriage. But if even then they haven't had time, and the person is already under the ground, don't think that they have forgotten. The locals save up money and perform the procedure on the person who has already passed away. If this is barbaric to some, I don't know what to say about cannibalism still practiced in India. It is practiced by members of the Aghori sect, the Shaivite ascetics, who focus on living a life that is completely opposite to the conventional framework. They constantly break the norms and have their own outlook on life. Thus, according to one of their beliefs, what one fears most in life is one's own demise. It is this constantly stifling fear that prevents one from spiritual enlightenment. And, as you already understand, in order to end the fear forever, members of the sect eat a person who has already gone to the other world. By the way, this person is usually the one who could not be cremated. And such people are usually pregnant women, children, saints, unmarried women and people who left the world as a result of snakebite. First the victims are brought to the river Ganges, and then the Aghori take them out of there and begin to consume them. Well, as I promised, the video was interesting. So, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.